Good morning. Thank you all for coming here. Today we are joined together to announce the results of a year-long investigation into a major fentanyl trafficking organization that was operating in Greater New Bedford. The investigation, dubbed Operation Ghost, resulted in the arrest of more than 20 individuals and the seizure of more than 5 kilos of raw fentanyl, more than $112,000 in cash, 35 grams of methamphetamine, 13 grams of crack cocaine, and a large capacity firearm. In addition, a bulletproof vest was also seized. Reference to this, the board up here, you can see some of the items, the cash, fentanyl, the gun, that was all seized as part of this operation. The investigation began in June 2018 when Dartmouth Police Detective Derek Souza developed credible information that Orlando Badillo was leading a large-scale fentanyl trafficking ring in the South Coast region. With the assistance of Trooper Mark Burke from my state police narcotics unit, investigators began developing information on this fentanyl trafficking organization. The target of the investigation was identified as Orlando Badillo, a New Bedford resident who has a lengthy history of arrests and convictions. It is alleged that Mr. Badillo orchestrated the distribution of fentanyl, controlled the amount of the drug's potency, managed the sales, collection of debts, and acquiring new customers. The organization distributed large amounts of fentanyl to lower-level dealers who sold to street-level users. As the investigation progressed, other local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies began assisting us in this complex investigation. Investigators began systematically identifying other important members of the organization and the roles that they played within that trafficking ring. In March of this year, investigators received Superior Court authorization to utilize a wiretap in this investigation. Between March 5th and April 30th of this year, investigators gathered significant information about the drug trafficking ring. During the course of the wiretap, we were able to identify Robert Paguero as the individual who was supplying large quantities of raw fentanyl to the trafficking organization. On April 30th, after nearly a year of investigation, law enforcement officials applied for and were granted numerous search and arrest warrants. This resulted in the dismantling of the organization's leadership and the seizure of all of the drugs and money that I've mentioned and are depicted up on the board. This past weekend, investigators began phase 2 of the investigation, which led to the arrest of a number of individuals who are suspected of being lower-level dealers. These dealers during the last year have purchased large amounts of fentanyl from the drug trafficking organization. Several remain at large. This was a complicated operation which involved a number of different agencies. I would like to thank the Attorney General's office for their financial support of this investigation. I would like to thank our state police unit, led by and Trooper Mark Burke, who led this investigation along with Dartmouth Police Detective Derek Souza. I would also like to thank the New Bedford Police Department, Homeland Security, the DEA, the Bristol County Sheriff's Department, and other units of the state police for their assistance in this operation and investigation. I would also like to thank prosecutors from my staff, including Steve Butts, who was here, who oversaw the investigation. I also want to note some of the people who are present here today: Dartmouth Police Chief Brian Levesque, Asa Moss from the DEA, Sheriff Tom Hodson, and other people who have supported us. This investigation highlights the need for agencies to cooperate, especially in these large-scale investigations. I want to thank them for their support. This is something that I've tried to do during my tenure as district attorney. The seizure of between 5 and 6 kilos of fentanyl may be the largest amount of fentanyl ever seized in Bristol County. If not, it certainly is one of the largest seizures. The amount of fatal overdoses has increased significantly since fentanyl was introduced to the region around 2014. The issue of fentanyl being used in this county came to light about 5 years ago in Taunton, where there was significant resources and focus put on increased deaths in Taunton. Since then, the number of fatal overdoses in Bristol County remains high, in large part, if not exclusively, because of fentanyl. 2014, there were 120 fatal overdoses in the county. 2015, 159. 2016, 197. 2017, 221. 3 years, almost 100, increase of 100 fatal overdoses. Last year, 2001, so far through the first third of this year, 71 fatal overdoses as of April 30th have occurred in this county, and others have happened since then. This is why it is critical to conduct investigations that try to stem the flow of this lethal drug into our communities. A number of these defendants who have been identified in the flow chart have been arraigned in New Bedford District Court. We have moved to detain them as dangers to the community based on their involvement in this organization. While each case needs to be judged on its own merits, the participation of defendants in a large-scale drug trafficking ring involving fentanyl establishes that these individuals are dangers to the community. In reality, they are peddling death to individuals who are in the throes of drug addiction. I have been an advocate for bail reform during the last few years, and these types of cases highlight the importance of having the ability to detain drug dealers who sell large amounts of drugs that can and will kill people. Simply trying to hold them on cash bail is not sufficient because many drug dealers have the resources to post bail and then continue to sell drugs in the community. That's something I will continue to fight for. So again, I want to thank everyone who participated in this operation investigation. This is what teamwork is all about, bringing people together for a common purpose. That is to investigate these rings that can only be done with joint cooperation and hold people accountable for the carnage that is going on out in the communities, especially these urban areas. So again, thank you for coming. I will take a few questions, but keep in mind this is ongoing investigation, and these individuals are just appearing in court last week and this week.
District Attorney, can you say how widespread this ring was and just how much fentanyl they were pushing on the streets, and can you link it to any overdose deaths?
Well, I would say it was based in New Bedford and spread somewhat to the surrounding community or communities. It was significant. Badillo's known to authorities. Without saying too much, I think it was fairly well run until it was penetrated by the investigation. It's unclear if anybody has died, but let's put it this way. I would say hundreds upon hundreds of people have been sold fentanyl during the course of this investigation. So it just shows you, and frankly, it's a tragedy when someone loses their life. People who become addicted to drugs and have to be satisfied by purchasing it are vulnerable. People like Badillo and others take advantage of it, and we will continue to keep pursuing these types of investigations. But keep in mind, this is not simple or easy. A lot of effort went into this. It was approved by the court. But unfortunately, there's large-scale drug dealing going on in these communities, and this is just part of it. So it's significant. They've been taken out of commission for now. Let's hope that the appropriate people are detained, and we will continue to continue to pursue other individuals who engage in similar activity.
Could you put a number on the percentage of what this represents in terms of the fentanyl coming into New Bedford?
I think that would be speculation. As I said, between 5 and 6 kilos of fentanyl is significant. There could be a larger seizure. I'm not aware of one. I don't mean in the country. I'm talking about Bristol County. Is the safe? You see the money here. Over $102,000 or thereabouts in cash. I'm sure that's just part of it. That's what was seized in the safe last week. What's been going on for the last year or two? This just didn't start 3 months ago, the drug dealing. So I think it represents a lot, but unfortunately there is a market for it, and people prey on these individuals and make a lot of money off of it. So we take it one investigation at a time. There are investigations going on all the time. But this requires substantial resources. That's why, again, thanking the Attorney General for their partnership. That's what it takes to do this. Again, without getting into the specifics of it, that's why I do want to, again, repeatedly thank people for assisting us and putting the time in that is necessary to get the appropriate court authorization and then the evidence to go in and arrest people and hold them accountable.
What do you know about the next level up, where the top person on that chart was getting his drugs, and are you cooperating with federal authorities on that?
Well, the specific investigations can't be discussed. We continue to pursue evidence and leads, but again, I'm just emphasizing to you, this isn't simply, this is not a simple matter to investigate. It's ongoing and continuous. So I wouldn't discuss that, but I think everybody is satisfied with the investigation, the arrests, and the seizure of the various drugs and money that we've discussed. And we are going to attempt through the court process, treating each defendant individually to hold them accountable.
Can you talk about the wiretap at all, and like how common it is to get authorization for that, and how helpful that was in this case?
The specifics of it, no. Certainly, let's stay away from this specific case. The federal government is very successful in investigations that often are based on wiretaps. If in a particular investigation you hear somebody's words on tape about what they're doing, similar in a different way to surveillance video. If I walk out this door and there's a picture of me, what am I going to say? It wasn't here. If I'm on the phone communicating with people, it's much easier to tie these individuals in a particular case to the evidence. So a wiretap is above and beyond the ordinary investigations because it takes a lot of effort and resources to do it. So it can be very fruitful without discussing the specifics of this case.
Do you anticipate future arrests?
Well, there are several individuals outstanding from the second wave of people who have been arrested. I believe 4 or 5 have been arrested in that area, and we're still actively pursuing 4 or 5 others who in this organization are on the lower end, lower level in terms of the hierarchy. So yes, I anticipate future arrests on the existing arrest warrants, and then we will go to court and let the process proceed and try to hold these individuals accountable based on the facts as they relate to each defendant.
Do you believe that this is the largest operation of its kind right now in the area, or do you suspect that there are others doing similar things on this scale?
Let's just focus on this. I think this was a large-scale operation that took a lot of resources. You don't just today decide we're going to go get another drug organization and do it next week. The police officers in various departments, in Bedford Police Department, Fall River Police Department, and all other communities are working every day to try to investigate drug dealers, and they are successful when they are able to obtain probable cause and arrest those people. So that's what's going on every day. Some other investigations take longer, like this one, and can be very fruitful based on what we, in terms of arrests and evidence that's seized. So that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks again.